Good morning, everybody. It says this Hangout is on the air. Len Mooney here, coming to you with your Saturday morning edition of the Law of Attraction, otherwise called by me as Dream with Len. And I want to welcome everyone who's here this morning. Chris, good morning. Belinda, good morning. Rick, good morning. And there'll be a few others piling on. I have Bill over here to act as the he's here acting as the hall monitor. And those of you who are familiar with how this works know the reason for that. It's possible for me to be presenting to nobody and not know it. So Bill's here to make sure that I'm presenting to you. Hey, before we start on today's topic, webinar, I want to just toss this out to all of our friends. And that is, I guess Craig, our good friend Craig Kassler has hurt himself. And he's pretty much laid up with I'm not exactly sure. He said he slipped I believe the email or message was that he slipped a disc and is fundamentally unable to get out of bed and is in a lot of pain. So maybe anybody who has an opportunity could shoot him a message and just wish him well. We can all say a prayer for him and hope that he's going to be back with us here pretty soon. Let me get started with today's webinar. I'm going to go to screen share, sharing the screen. Share, and I'm counting on you, Bill, to let me know that you actually can see the screen. I'm going to hit present to everyone. You see, after having done this at least 100 times, occasionally I actually get it right. And I'm going to assume that you can see the PowerPoint, the first slide. Bill, let me know.
Yes, you're good.
Cool. Marvelous. Okay, so we have been absent from this webinar series for, I honestly don't remember. I didn't go back and look, but it's been at least 3 weeks. We took a break for various reasons. And so what I thought I would like to do today, I'm going to bore those of you who have been on the webinar series from the beginning, but only for a very short period of time, maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes at the outside, just to quickly review what we've done in the past. We have some new people on that have never been here before. We have a lot of new people registered that maybe they're going to be watching the replay. I don't know. So I just want to do a quick review, and I want to remind everybody that all of the webinars we've done, and there's only been 3 in the Law of Attraction series so far, plus Janice Saba's webinar. But all the webinars we've done are recorded. The recordings are available, so you can go back to them. We started several weeks ago with this as the title slide, focusing on the Law of Attraction, how to achieve the life of your dreams. And that is what this webinar series is all about. And it's going to keep right on going into the future as far as I can see. There's a lot of material to cover. And the last one of the webinars we did several weeks ago, right before Janice Saba's webinar on essential oils, aromatherapy, the last one we did was your big dream. So what we did is we started with this idea that in order to know where we're going, we have to create a vision for our life. And we consulted with Bob Proctor, and we actually watched a Bob Proctor video, and there's the URL for that video. The URL for that video is also up in the Lunch with Len group. So for the people who are new to this webinar series, we have a group called Lunch with Len, and I'm using that group so that we didn't have to form a separate group for this webinar series. I'm using that group as a place to park the notes, the replays, and etc. So everything's out there. And if you have any trouble finding things, just ask, send me a message, let me know. I'll help you out, of course. After we watched Bob Proctor, we knew these things. In order to get the Law of Attraction working for us, we need to change our paradigm. And what's our paradigm? Fundamentally, it's our stinking thinking. It's the stuff that's holding us back. It's the blocks. It's the negativity that we have in our thought processes. And that building belief and knowing what we want is not only achievable, but we can achieve it for us. And that is the critical thing. And where we're going to pick up today is in the process of how to build belief. But here's the thing. The thing that's holding back most people from achieving the life of their dreams is they simply don't believe they can do it. They are full of negativity. And we're going to start to explore today where that negativity came from, because we weren't born with it. We're going to explore where it came from, and we're going to continue on a path of how to get rid of it. I'm also going to warn you that I entitled today's webinar Building Belief, but I'm going to warn you that we're really not going to completely build our belief today. It's going to take more than one of these presentations, and I am going to stick to the half-hour format. So we'll be finished pretty much on time today at 9 o'clock, maybe 9 and change. But here's where we started several weeks ago. When most people are asked what do they want, they usually say things, well, I want a new car, or I want more money, or I want more time. And I challenged that because the reality is those aren't really the things that most people want. Those are the very superficial things. The reason people say they want more money is not because they want money. It's because they want experiences. They want emotions. They want feelings. They want things that are different than money, but that the money can pave the way to get. So I want more time with my family. What does that really mean? What does it look like? It means I want to feel like I'm being a good provider. I want to feel like I'm spending time with my children. I want to feel like I'm helping to raise my children. I want to feel like I'm being a new parent. And you notice I keep emphasizing the word feel, because the universe doesn't respond to words. You can sit and look at a mirror all day long and say, I want more money, and the universe doesn't respond to that. Simply saying I want more money doesn't raise your feel-good vibration to a high enough level to get you there. And in fact, simply saying things like that is actually keeping you focused on the lack of, because for most people, when you say things like, I want more money, the reason you're saying it is because you don't feel like you have enough. Your conscious mind is focusing on lack, and that's what you're getting more of. The universe doesn't respond to the words. It's responding to feelings and to emotions. And notice I mentioned the feel-good vibration. We got to be happy, joyous, celebratory, thankful, grateful, loving, excited. We got to build emotion into this whole process. We have to build feeling into it. We have to really feel like we are attracting the things that we want. Many of the old sayings like be, do, have, act as if, they're all telling us the same thing. How would it feel if, and we did this 3 weeks ago, close your eyes and imagine, how would it feel if you had the things in your life that you want? And more money isn't the answer. It's the experience that the money can bring you. It's the feelings of joy that being able to spend the time with your family or go on that vacation or have that new house are going to bring to you. I mentioned Bob Miller's gratitude in advance message. Having gratitude in advance for what you know is coming. And the word know there is very specific because that is what you have to build into your belief system. You have to build a knowing that what you want is on its way. You can feel it, you can taste it, you can smell it, you can see it, you can put your arms around it, you can hold it, you can be it. When we say act as if, it means live your life as if the things you want are already there. Because what the universe teaches us, and this may be a pretty deep rabbit hole to go down today, but when we're not going to go down it very far, but what the universe teaches us is that it is already there. It just hasn't shown up in our physical experience yet, but it is there. And in order to bring it into our physical experience, we have to attract it. We have to manifest it. We have to pave the path for it. And that's what this is all about. Be, do, have. Be the person you want to become. And do the things that person would do. And then you will have the things that person will have. Be, do, have. Start with the feeling that you're already there. And you go, Mooney, how do I do that? How do I start with the feeling that it's already there when I can see the pile of bills sitting in front of me on the kitchen table and I don't have the money in the checking account to pay them? Well, that's what we're going to start to work on. We're going to start to work on building the belief. But this is also the core reason why affirmations don't always work for many people. And we're gonna spend a fair amount of time talking about that over the next couple of weeks. Affirmations, why they don't work always, and what we can do about it in their place. So, continuing on, we did this exercise a couple 3 weeks ago. We looked at our major purpose in life and talked about how to organize our activities around it. And I gave you an example of Jack Canfield's life purpose: to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision in a context of love and joy. And the reason I used that as an example, and I also used my own as an example, and we worked through a major definite purpose in life exercise, is because I wanted you to see that the major purpose in life is a really very high concept. It isn't, what do you do with your life? What's your major purpose? It's not to be an Amway salesman. Okay, it's something different. And for many of us right now, it's to help people improve the quality of their lives by providing products and services that are toxin free, for example. Okay, and that could be a major purpose and an important one. And we talked about how that major purpose can make it easier for you to overcome objections. Because when somebody looks at you, kicks you in the ankle and says, "That's illegal, that's a pyramid scheme, I can't believe you got involved in something like that," your vision of where you're going with your life and what you want to accomplish with it is so much bigger, so much stronger, so much better that you can just brush off comments like that. You can shrug your shoulders and say, "Sorry, you don't understand. Next." So we talked about needing to start with a vision. And I've put this slide up enough times that we don't need to see it anymore. We talked about what our vision is and how we want to formulate it. And we walked through a vision exercise. And the vision worksheet, for that anyone who hasn't gone through it, is there in the Lunch with Len group. It's posted. Go dig it out. Go through it. Without a vision, you will not succeed. You got to know where you're going in order to set the sails to get there. It's that simple. So we talked about this. The vision will pull you through the tough times. There's going to be bad days. Expect them. But here's where we are today. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The problem is, for most people, belief. Art Williams made the comment that the reason people don't succeed in America is they don't believe that they can. What's wrong with that? Why don't they believe that they can? We know, this is from Robert Hallis, the power of faith comes from your ability to imagine how you will be when your dream has been fulfilled, long before your dream manifests outwardly. Now let's stop right there for just a moment. The power of faith comes from your ability to imagine how you will be when your dream has been fulfilled, long before your dream manifests outwardly. That's reminding us of the same thing: be, do, have, live as if, act as if. It's reminding us that we have to see in our mind our vision before we see it with our eyes outwardly. Before we can manifest it, we have to see it. So we talked about setting intermediate milestones. I'm going to skip past that. Then we took a brief break. We took a break for Jana Saba's webinar workshop on aromatherapy, which was just a really great introduction to aromatherapy and what it can do for us. So we sort of stopped law of attraction. Then we took, I think, 2 weeks off because of Easter, or maybe it was 1 week because we had a holiday in there, and we're back today. So here's where we are today. So we have our vision, we have our life mission statement, we have our core values. Those were the three major workshops we did. We did a vision workshop, a core values, and a life mission statement. And again, those are all recorded and all available. So here we are. We have a vision. We know where we want to go. We're sailing out of the harbor. The sails are set. How do we stay on course? Well, the first thing we know is that there are going to be currents, there are going to be crosswinds, there's going to be changes, there's going to be weather, there's going to be storms. So we know that. The nature of the universe is such that it isn't going to leave us alone. We'll talk more about that in a few moments. But it's not possible to have light without dark, positive without negative, good without bad. Opposites always exist. They coexist, and they derive energy from each other. So as soon as we start to sail out of the harbor, we're going to have crosswinds and currents that we didn't anticipate, and we're going to have to compensate them. We're going to have to figure out how to fix our minds so that we can stay on course and not get discouraged. But here's the problem, part of the problem. Again, opposites always exist. The Chinese philosophy talked about yin and yang, and you might say to yourself, well, now he's going off the deep end. He's pulling up Chinese philosophy. What the heck does all that mean? It means simple. This is what it means, simply. This comes from Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil. Read this carefully. Fear is the tool of a man-made devil. And I'm going to talk about man-made devil in a minute, but fear is the tool of a man-made devil. Self-confident faith in oneself is both the man-made weapon which defeats this devil and the man-made tool which builds a triumphant life. And it's more than that. It's a link to the irresistible forces of the universe which stand behind a man who does not believe in failure and defeat as being anything but temporary experiences. Now, if there's one sentence that has incredible power in today's presentation, it is sitting there. Napoleon Hill, by the way, for those of you who don't know, he's of course the author of Think and Grow Rich, one of the most famous, if not the most famous, self-help financial books that was ever written. He's also the author of a book called Outwitting the Devil. He wrote that book in the 1930s, and it was put in a drawer in his dresser. He was afraid to publish it. His family was afraid to publish it. And for, 40 years, the book went unpublished. It was finally published a few years ago, and it does exist. And of course, I know I have a copy of it, and I know some other people on this webinar who have a copy of it. We are going to devote a whole session to Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, sometime in the not too distant future. I can't tell you exactly which Saturday it's going to be, but it's coming, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. We're going to devote an entire session to looking at that book and the implications of it. Now, let me make the comment that Napoleon Hill, in the book Outwitting the Devil, treats the devil as if he's a person. He talks about the devil as if he was sitting there talking to the devil in a fireside chat in his living room. Is the devil a real person, or is it simply the forces of negativity in the universe? Is it the yin and the, is it the opposite of the yin and the yang? Whichever one is positive, it's the other one, the negative. I don't know. I get him confused. What is Napoleon Hill's devil? And it really doesn't matter. When we talk about God, we say, for example, I don't care what you call it. You can call it source energy. You can call it the universe. You can call it God. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what name you put on it. So don't get caught up in the language of the name of the devil. Just accept it for right now as the forces of negativity that act in the universe. So how do we outwit this devil? How do we outwit these forces of negativity? The first thing we all know is that left unattended, the natural state of affairs is to move toward disorder or chaos. Now, you know that. You may not think about it very often, but plant a garden and don't pull the weeds out and find out what happens. The weeds take over. Science has long understood this concept. It's long been known, it's understood, and this is a concept from thermodynamics, and if it doesn't make any sense to you, that's okay, just ignore it. Don't get caught up in it. But the universe drifts toward what's called maximum entropy. What does that mean? It means herding kittens. Herding kittens is a perfectly good example. The universe tends to drift, as near as we can tell, in the physical, observable universe, it tends to drift toward maximum disorder, maximum entropy. Nothing is ordered. Nothing is following each other. And we have to bring order to it and bring it back together for ourselves. So what does that mean? What it really means is this: if you don't work on your mind continuously, it will move toward disorder and chaos. Your mind is just like the garden that you planted. And the result of not working on your mind continuously is procrastination, fear, guilt, overwhelm, poor health, poor finances, poor relationships. That's what happens if you don't work on your mind. It drifts toward chaos. It drifts toward negativity. It drifts toward fear. Fear is the devil's playground. Fear is where the devil likes to work. He likes to stir up fear and confusion, overwhelm. And what happens to people that are full of fear, that feel overwhelmed, that feel confused? They shut down. Now, we've long known that a confused mind does nothing. So what happens? Confuse somebody, fill them full of fear, fill them full of guilt, fill them full of overwhelm, and pretty much the net result is they plop onto the couch, pick up the remote, pop open a cold one, and wonder what happened. Their life it's over. They can't achieve the results of their dreams. They quit dreaming. They're afraid to dream. They don't feel like they can get there on their own. So we have to clear out these major influences of our thought processes. And again, it's often been said that our minds are like gardens. We can plant and cultivate positive thoughts, but if we neglect it, the weeds will grow. And the weeds, of course, are the negative thoughts. They include fear, doubt, uncertainty, and left alone, our minds tend to drift into negativity. So, unfortunately, it's huge for many of us. We go to bed at night fearful. We lay awake thinking about, oh my God, I'm broke. Oh my God, I can't pay the bills. Oh my God, I'm getting old. Oh, what if I get sick? Maybe I am sick. We're afraid of death. We're afraid of the bill collector. And as long as fear is our dominant thought, that's law of attraction. We're going to get more of it. So fear, more than any other emotion, is what stops us. When we're afraid, we drift in and out of action. We procrastinate, and we don't live the life that we want. So for many, scarcity is dominant. So we're going to work in a minute on starting to get rid of this stuff, but where does it come from? You weren't born with it. When you were born, as near as we know, you pretty much had a clean slate. But a UCL survey from a few years back reported that, for example, the average 1-year-old child hears the word no more than 400 times. This fear, the scarcity mentality comes from our environment and our upbringing. It comes from our families, our culture. Oh my God, it comes from our churches, the churches that preach hellfire and brimstone. It comes from our schools. One of the reasons Napoleon Hill's second book, Outwitting the Devil, wasn't published is because the family was afraid of the backlash coming from the major society infrastructure. For example, he takes on the schools, he takes on the churches, he takes on the culture. He points out throughout the book that the schools as they presently, sorry, let me back up. As the schools presently exist, in many cases, they were designed to generate factory workers. Stand in a line, wear a uniform. Everybody does the same thing. Sit down, shut up. Don't display any creativity. Creativity is not encouraged. People are told, sit down, shut up, do what you're told. Well, if you tell somebody to sit down, shut up, and do what they're told enough times, guess what? They lose confidence in themselves. They lose the ability to even think. So we were born to win, but we are programmed to fail. So here's the question. If it's true that we have the power to choose how we feel. Why do most people choose negative? And the answer is, once again, we are born to win, but we are programmed to fail by all of the things that I talked about before. All of this programming that started when we were young, when we were first born. No, 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 you can't do that. No, you can't do that. That's not for us. Our family doesn't do things like that. That guy down the street with all that money, he did something funny to get that money. Da 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 da. And by the time we reach adulthood, by the time we reach the ability, the point in our life where we have the ability to make our own decisions, our decisions are clouded by all these fears and uncertainty that have been programmed into us from birth. So how do we get rid of them? So we're programmed. It starts in the very beginning. By the time you've reached the age of 18, you've heard the word no 200,000 times. You've seen 30,000 acts of violence. You've received more than 12 million messages in the form of advertising telling you how to look, what to eat, how to feel. Ladies, ladies, one of the things that I observed when my daughter was growing up is that my biggest concern was the advertising on television, telling her how to act, how to feel, what to wear. I mean, if she didn't have the designer jeans and the designer makeup and the this and that and the other, well, then she was no good. I mean, the total programming coming from the media was to wear the right jeans, the right makeup, the right this, that, and the other, so that you could attract the right guy. That's what it was all. It was all about building your sexuality. It was about attracting the right guy into your life, the knight in shining armor who was going to drive up on his white steed and gallop you off into the sunset for the rest of your life. And we all know that's crap, but that's what we're taught. That's what our kids are taught. That's what we grew up with. That's what we have to overcome. If we're going to achieve the life, we gotta overcome all this programming. And it is just that. It's programming. Your mind runs. We're going to talk in a few weeks. We're going to talk about the strong brain and how it really functions. But let's just take a simplistic look at it for a moment. A thought comes into your mind, your conscious mind, and it says, gosh, I'd like to have a big new house. And your conscious mind digs down into your subconscious mind and pulls up the file, house, and it examines the file. And it finds in there, no, you can't. We don't do that. That's not for people like us. We don't have that kind of money. Money doesn't grow on trees. It finds all the negative things that were stuffed into that file over all these years, and it returns the answer to your conscious mind that says, you can't do that. That's not for you. And your conscious mind shuts down, opens a can of beer, and turns on the television because it's been told it can't do it. So that's where we have to begin. We have to overwrite all this crap in order to build belief. So, no wonder most of us have this negative self-image. By the way, some of the statistics I just quoted came from a book called Get Off Your Assets, How to Unleash the Power in You by Desi Williamson. So that's where some of these statistics are coming from. So now we got to tackle this problem. And I want to talk a little bit about affirmations, but first, how do we tackle the problem? We got to install new software. We got to update the program. We got to erase all this negativity. We got to replace it with positive thinking. Napoleon Hill calls definiteness of purpose. Now, many people talk about affirmations. Go stand in front of the bathroom mirror and say, I am enough. I am worthy. I am good. I am whatever your affirmation is. And we're going to talk a little more about affirmations in just a moment. But I think I fully understand why for many people affirmations don't work. I'm going to take you back a couple of slides. By the time you've reached the age of 18, you've heard the word no 200,000 times. No, you can't. No, you're not good enough. No, 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 no. We got to overwrite that. How many times do you think you have to tell your mind, yes, you can, before you overwrite 200,000 occurrences of no, you can't. Well, now the good news is it's not 200,000 times. But here's why I personally believe, and you're here this, and I'm going to label this now. I can't give you a source for what I'm about to say. The source, I'm the source. In having looked through all the material that I have on affirmations and why they don't work and what some people say about them, I think that I've uncovered reached the following conclusion. It's been said that a positive thought is, let's say, 7 times more powerful than a negative thought. I've heard the number 7. I can't actually give you a source for that number today. I don't remember where I found that or where I saw it, but let's just pretend that it is 7 times more powerful. A positive thought is 7 times more powerful than negative thought. Now listen up, folks. This is really important. If I've been told no 100,000 times, I have to tell myself yes 100,000 divided by 7, or roughly 13,000 times, in order to overwrite the no, in order to really completely clear it out. Well, maybe the number isn't 13,000, maybe it's only 10,000, but maybe it's more, maybe it's 20,000, I don't know. It's less than 100,000 and more than once. We know that. So most people are told to do your affirmations. Do them at least once a day, maybe twice a day. Go stand in front of the mirror and say, I am good enough, I am worthy, I am whatever your affirmation is. Let's see. Let's say we do our affirmations twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. That's 700 times a year. That's 20 years to say it 13,000 times. No wonder affirmations don't appear to work. I personally believe that you have to do affirmations. I have reached the conclusion, and I am practicing this in my own personal life right now. I have reached the conclusion that if you really want to overwrite some of these negative thoughts, and depending on your background, maybe you are lucky and your mommy or your daddy or your aunt, uncle, brother, sister, maybe they didn't tell you 200,000 times the word no. Maybe it was only 100,000, or maybe only 10,000. I don't know. Maybe you were lucky enough to have been raised in a family where they told you you can. And I know it's 2 after 9. We're going to wrap this up for today in a moment. But look, when we know that there are examples out there of people like the little girl whose name I don't recall off the top of my head, who was born with no legs and became a gymnast because she was told all of her life, from the moment she was adopted, she was told she can. She was told she could do anything she wanted to be. And she decided she wanted to be a gymnast. You sort of need to have legs to be a gymnast. Well, she proved that wrong. We know about Nick, again, last name I have trouble pronouncing, but Nick, who was born no legs, no arms, no problem. We know about the girl that was born with no arms and learned to become an airplane pilot. Gee, you sort of need to have arms to fly an airplane, don't you? So there are lots of examples out there of people that were born and raised in an environment where they were told they really could do anything they wanted to do. For those of us who know, expect Ray Higdon's daughter is going to grow up being, oh my God, who knows what she can become, because we pretty much know that she's going to be raised in an environment of pure positivity. She's never going to be told she can't. But most of us were told we can't many times. And so we have to overwrite that stuff. We have to clear it out. So I knew we weren't going to get completely through building belief today. I'm going to sort of wrap it up here and pick it up next week. What we need to do, let me just look a couple slides forward. Okay, what we need to do is begin to reprogram our subconscious mind and our conscious mind, for that example, or for that matter, but the subconscious mind is really where the terrible programming is. Everything that has been said to you throughout your entire life has been stored, cataloged, and put into a file somewhere in your subconscious mind. You're not aware of it. You don't know that it's there. In many cases, you're not even aware that these things are down there, but they are influencing the decisions that your conscious mind is making. And we got to clear them out. So we're going to pick up on this theme next Saturday, and we're going to actually look at the programming itself, the details. We're going to look at affirmations. We're going to I'm going to look briefly at affirmations and asking empowering questions. For example, we're going to look at some of the various techniques that we can use in order to retrain our mind to focus on and believe the things that we want are achievable, and not only achievable, but that they are achievable for us. We can do it. So let me leave you with those thoughts today. What we did today is we painted the picture of why we have so much trouble. And there's a couple reasons to do that. If we really understand where this difficulty comes from, then we can understand how to attack it. We can formulate a plan to attack the problem. The other reason to do this is to tell you it's not your fault. Don't feel bad because you're having trouble believing that you can achieve your dreams. You're having trouble manifesting your desires. Don't blame yourself. You didn't do it. The society did it. It was programmed into you from birth. And if you look at the magnitude of the numbers, they could become almost overwhelming if we let them be. So I'm going to end this slideshow, and I'm going to stop the share and come on back to you. My 13-year-old granddaughter, Bill, can you see me? My 13-year-old granddaughter is going through that now.
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, everybody, I don't see any questions in there, and so I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, sorry, it's 10 minutes after 9. I want to try to hold these down to the half hour, like I told you I would. Covered a lot in a short period of time, but I think it's really important to sort of cover that background and make sure we're all on the same page as how we got to where we have trouble manifesting our dreams and believing in ourselves. And next week we're going to really tear that stuff apart and really look at the concept of rebuilding ourselves and building our beliefs. So with that being said, Chris, what is my 13-year-old granddaughter is going through that now? What does that mean? Is she being programmed with negativity? Guess I'm waiting for Chris. Maybe it says Chris is still here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, okay. Thanks, Len. It was great. All right, very good. Hey, we'll see you next week, same time, same station, and we'll pick right up where we left off. All righty? No more reviews. We're going to just keep charging forward. And so next week, we're really going to dig in. Yeah, makeup and peer pressure. Yep. Oh, my God. We could spend a whole session talking about that. Maybe we should. Maybe I ought to bring you over and we ought to have open mic and talk about raising kids and grandkids and the influences that the society has on them. No wonder they reach adulthood and they can't function for themselves. It's been destroyed. Hey, anyhow, that's it. We're going to call it a day. I'm going to hit stop broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for spending a half hour of your Saturday with me, a half hour and change. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you on Tuesday, Lunch with Len. Look for a new registration link for Lunch with Len for Tuesday because it's a new month. We're starting a new link. All righty? We'll talk to you again. Bye for now.